stolen designer toys, a soggy state fair, and what the Old Farmer's Almanac says about your fall weather. Plus, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo introduced a legislation he's calling Zohran's Law, and McDonald's is rolling out an adult Happy Meal. Here's today's trivia question as well. Why does the Old Farmer's Almanac cover feature a hole in the upper left corner? It's Monday, August 11th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm your weekday host, Ayla Brown. And before we get to the headlines, a quick update. 1 week in, and you've blown us away. Over $600,000 raised, $1.1 million in the works, 250,000 plus shares sold, all from readers and listeners like you who believe the news should belong to the people who read it and listen to it. Now's your chance to own a piece of the Flyover. Shares are just $2 each with a $750 minimum. The first $1 million is almost gone, so don't miss your shot to own the news you trust. Go to invest.jointheflyover.com to learn more. All right, I hope you had a great weekend. Let's take off with the biggest stories of the day. First up, it seems as though there's been a lot of weather news this summer, and this week is no different. The Midwest got absolutely hammered by storms this weekend. Wisconsin's State Fair even had to cancel its final day after historic rainfall drenched the Milwaukee area. Some spots saw over 10 inches in just a few hours, flooding streets, stranding residents, and cutting power to about 50,000 people. In Nebraska, nearly 400 inmates had to be moved when storms damaged part of the state's oldest prison. In California, thieves with a taste for toys smashed into a La Puente shop and stole about $7,000 worth of collectible Labubu dolls. Surveillance footage shows them using a stolen Toyota Tacoma as a battering ram before sprinting inside and cleaning out the shelves. These toothy little designer figures can go anywhere from $20 to over $1,000 for rare ones, and now the store's entire inventory is gone. And for those already dreaming of sweater weather, the Old Farmer's Almanac is calling, ready for it? For a warm, dry fall for most of the country after this scorching summer, except in the Northeast, Ohio Valley, and parts of the upper Midwest, where cooler, wetter weather should move in by September. Alaska's looking mild, Hawaii a bit cooler, and hurricane season still isn't done with us yet. Here are your top political headlines today. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said Sunday that President Trump will be testing Russian President Vladimir Putin's sincerity when they meet in Alaska on Friday, adding that how seriously Putin engages may determine whether peace efforts move forward. Next, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo introduced legislation he's calling Zohran's Law, aimed at barring affluent New Yorkers like mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani from rent-stabilized apartments. Cuomo agrees the move is needed to protect affordable housing for people in genuine need and highlights the ongoing housing affordability crisis. And in news from the intelligence world, William H. Webster, the only person ever to lead both the FBI and CIA, passed away at the age of 101. As a former federal judge and Navy veteran, Webster led the FBI from 1978 to 1987, and then headed the CIA from 1987 to 1991. A rare and remarkable career in public service. Today's episode is brought to you by NativePath Collagen, something I use every single day, can't you tell? NativePath is made with just one ingredient, pure hydrolyzed collagen peptides. No fillers, no artificial sweeteners, no additives, just type 1 and 3 collagen, which make up about 90% of the collagen in your body. It's third-party tested for heavy metals, so you know it's safe. And what I like is that it's completely flavorless, so I mix it right into my coffee and you would just never know it's there. Over 4 million jars have sold, McDonald, 8,000 five-star reviews. And you want to know the best part? Okay, I will tell you. A 365-day no-risk guarantee. So all you have to do is learn more by clicking the link in the show notes below or go to getnativepathcollagen.com/flyover. Once again, that's getnativepathcollagen.com/flyover. Here are some bonus stories just for listeners of the Flyover podcast that you're not going to find in the email edition. First up, President Trump says Washington, D.C.'s homeless population needs to leave the city immediately. Under a new federal initiative, they'll be relocated away from the Capitol as part of a push to improve safety and appearance. It builds on earlier crackdowns by the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has been clearing encampments and enforcing quality of life laws. Next, if you've been feeling down, here's your excuse to move your body. Just 20 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise 5 days a week can slash your risk of depression by 43% and cut symptoms by 16%. And guys, it doesn't have to be hardcore. A brisk walk around the block counts, I promise. And lastly, a college sorority recruitment is officially underway. And not just one college, a lot of them, which means #RushTalk is back and bigger than ever. At Southern schools like Alabama and Ole Miss, potential new members are spending thousands on consultants, designer wardrobes, and glam squads, hoping to stand out in this high-stakes social media spectacle. Critics say it's exclusionary, but for some, it's a fast track to influencer fame. What do you think about that? Leave a comment in the comments section below. And if anyone has some extra dollars, I could definitely get a hair and makeup person for me. That's your podcast extra roundup. I'm looking forward to giving you more exclusive content just for our listeners in tomorrow's podcast. And coming up, do you want to know how much you could be saving if you stopped buying a coffee at Starbucks every day? I'm going to tell you and also give you a tip on what to do with those savings. It's all coming up. In finance, President Trump has signed an executive order letting 401k plans invest in alternative assets like private equity and cryptocurrencies. Supporters say it could help boost returns, while critics warn it could expose retirement savers to more risk. The $12.5 trillion defined contribution market could see major changes if plans adopt the move. And listen up, you want to know how to really save on the easy things? I'll give you an example. If you buy a grande Starbucks latte every single day for a year, that's about $2,095, of course, depending on where you live. And it's money that could have grown significantly if invested instead. For example, over the past decade, putting that amount in the S&P 500 would have more than doubled your money. It's a fresh reminder of how small daily habits like coffee can add up. That is why I bought an espresso machine and I use it every single day. And yes, it was expensive at first, but totally worth it. And lastly, the White House has floated merging mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac into one company, tentatively called the Great American Mortgage Corporation, or MAGA. Officials say combining the two could streamline operations before the government sells down its stakes, but critics worry about reduced competition in the housing market. Here's what's happening beyond our borders. Hundreds of thousands of people filled streets of Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and other Israeli cities Saturday night to demand the release of remaining hostages. They also protested Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to expand military control in Gaza, a move critics say could derail peace efforts. A magnitude 6.1 earthquake hit Turkey on Sunday, knocking down about a dozen buildings and trapping at least 2 people in the rubble. Rescue crews are still searching for survivors after aftershocks continue in the region. And lastly, El Salvador has passed a new law allowing for Bitcoin-only banks that would cater exclusively to accredited investors. Leaders hope the move will attract foreign capital and cement the country's position as a hub for cryptocurrency activity. In sports, Jacksonville Jaguars kicker Cam Little showed off a monster leg in Saturday's preseason game, nailing a 70-yard field goal just before halftime. It would have been an NFL record if only it had happened during the regular season. Darn. And over in the Cowboys' preseason matchup against the Rams, wide receiver CeeDee Lamb wasn't even playing, but still took a massive hit from a referee. Yep, the ref accidentally leveled him on the sidelines during Dallas's 31-21 loss. The video can be seen in the show notes below, and all I can say is, ouch. And lastly, the 2025 Little League Softball World Series came to a thrilling close in Greenville, North Carolina, as Johnstown, Pennsylvania, representing the Mid-Atlantic, clinched the championship with a dominant 4-0 win over Floyd's Knobs, Indiana. Pitcher Reagan Bills was a force, striking out 10 and allowed 0 earned runs throughout the tournament. It's the first time a West Suburban team has ever reached and won the title game. Congrats to them. And by the way, still to come, the ugliest dog competition, speaking of sports, just happened and the winner has been crowned. I'll tell you more about that, plus today's poll questions and trivia. Here's your top science and technology news. A meteorite that tore through a Georgia home in June has now been dated at 4.56 billion years old, making it nearly as old as the solar system itself. Scientists believe it came from an asteroid that broke apart long ago between Mars and Jupiter. They've proposed naming it the McDonald meteorite after the town where it landed in. Next, the Pentagon's Defense Innovation Unit says Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory will build a 10-inch monolithic telescope for a space mission planned as early as 2027. It will launch aboard Firefly Aerospace's Elytra vehicle and is designed to demonstrate new technology for future space observation and defense applications. And a new study on the diabetes and weight loss drug Ozempic found that users became an average of 3.1 years biologically younger over 32 weeks. Researchers credit the effect to better fat distribution, reduced inflammation, and improved metabolic health, changes that could have long-term benefits for aging. Here are some extra stories that you might have missed, so we threw them in the podcast just for you. McDonald's is rolling out a limited-time adult Happy Meal starting August 12th, complete with classic McDonaldland mascots, a blue Mount McDonaldland shake, and collectible tins. It's part nostalgia, part marketing push to boost summer sales. 3 postal workers in Germany have taken the Christmas spirit to a new level, dressing as elves and biking almost 2,000 miles from St. Nicholas to Santa Claus Village in Finland. It's a tradition, that helps answer more than 30,000 children's letters to Santa every single year. Oh. And Petunia, a hairless English-French bulldog mix, just claimed the title of World's Ugliest Dog at the Sonoma County Fair in California. Along with bragging rights, of course, Petunia took home $5,000. You can see the photo of her and the rest of the finalists in today's show notes. Poor dogs. Here's yesterday's poll question and the results. When should the school year begin? 73% said after Labor Day. 13% said no opinion. 12% said before Labor Day. And 2% said other. Well, I will tell you, up here in Massachusetts where I live, we always start after Labor Day. But when I lived in Tennessee, they started so much earlier. And I always wondered why. What's the difference? Maybe I will never know. And here's the poll question for today. Has your family ever owned a copy of the Old Farmer's Almanac? Is it, yep, every year? Once or twice? Never? Or, lastly, what's that? I guarantee my extended family has one and grew up reading them. My mom's side comes from a family of farmers in the Midwest, and I feel like everyone in the Midwest had a copy of the Old Farmer's Almanac. My dad, though, grew up in New England, and I don't think that that was really a thing for people in that area. But I'll read the answers in tomorrow's show, so don't forget. The microphone has been turned over to you, so all you have to do is vote in the show notes below. We've talked a lot about the Old Farmer's Almanac, so here's today's trivia question. Why does the Old Farmer's Almanac cover feature a hole in the upper left corner? Many of you might know the answer to this, but I did not. The hole in the Old Farmer's Almanac cover dates back to the late 1700s when readers would hang it in barns, kitchens, or outhouses. About a century ago, the publisher they started adding the hole on purpose and then tried removing it in the 90s to save just a little bit of money, but readers revolted. So the hole stayed. And that's why it's still there today. Anyways, that is it for the Flyover podcast. Thank you so much for watching, listening, sharing, and giving us those free 5-star reviews. They help so much. And just a friendly thank you to those who have invested in the Flyover already. And if you want to learn more, you can at invest.jointheflyover.com. I will see you tomorrow with more headlines. Until then, thanks for flying with us.